assists. The Big Ten Conference handed out a $100,000 fine to Michigan and Ohio State for the post-game brawl after Saturday's football game. The conference said the players involved would not be disciplined. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours, now through December 20th. All of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not too unserious. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580, good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First, and my first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from the Most High, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and let's go. Got a lot to do, a lot to talk about. I'm very, speaking of grateful and thankful, thankful to Miles Lowe for keeping everything smooth while I was taking some time off. And to my colleagues, man, I got 2 PhDs who filled in for me. Dr. Sunshine, as she's known, Dr. Shalonda Crawford, who has a new book out, which I suggest you check out. We'll be having her back to talk about that soon. And Dr. Melina Abdullah, the leader of Black Lives Matter Grassroots. They have a show every Saturday here on KBLA, the Black Lives Matter This Is Not a Drill. And she will be actually, realistically, I will be joining her and a number of different organizations this morning to protest at the swearing in for our new DA, Nathan Hochman. More on that later. But I had a great time off. Got to hang out with family, meet some new people, get some rest, eat too much. Gonna be hitting the gym today. And I'm looking forward to talking about all the things we have to talk about. For today, we're on our typical format. Hour 3, we do a deep dive with a person of interest, a hot topic. Today is both. We'll be speaking with attorney Zorn Basic. Certainly the holidays is a time when you start thinking about your future, the parents, the grandparents, how to take care of them. So we'll tackle all of those things, the paperwork things, any questions that you may have, but also want to look at what this incoming administration may mean for Medi-Cal, Medicare, Social Security and the like, and what, if anything, we can do to protect ourselves and our families. So that's all coming up with elder care expert attorney Zorn Basic in hour 3. Hour 2, the lines are wide open, and we're going to look at national and international politics. And we're going to keep our head up while we do it. Also, we'll have, speaking of keeping our head up, Mindful Monday. So we'll get a chance to get our minds right for the week ahead, set our intentions, and be balanced for whatever challenges may face us. And then, I got a partner in politics on the phone. He is the president of ES Advisors, which is a consultancy firm dealing with campaigns, public policy, and more. He's also a contributor, a regular contributor to KBLA. May make you think it's Friday because he's usually on Fridays, but no, it's a Monday. Ed Sanders, welcome.
Yeah, that's and a Monday after a holiday weekend at that. But thanks. Good morning. How are you? Hope you're doing well this morning.
Yeah, I'm good. I know it's back to school, and these are like the drag you back to school after the holiday Mondays. So I appreciate your taking time out to be here with us.
Thanksgiving was nice. It was nice to have a good weekend with family and make sure everyone's doing well.
Yeah, I took the whole week off because the election kind of had me a little burnt out, but I am unburnt out. I'm back in fighting form. Well, maybe not fighting form, about 5 pounds over fighting form, but but I'm ready to go. We do have a lot on our plate, and I feel like connecting with family, taking a little bit of time to recharge and reboot is going to be super important because we have got our work cut out for us.
We do. I mean, a lot of headwinds. I think, like most of the country, trying to figure out what this new administration means on just every level. I mean, it's not just some of the federal policy, but it definitely impacts funding at the state and local level, and certainly what you set as priorities on the different levels. So we have, to your point, we do have a lot to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that maybe you can break down a little bit because you have done, you've been a chief of staff for politicians, you've worked on campaigns, but also really worked on policy. You and I spent a lot of time trying to overturn the ban on affirmative action in our state. We didn't succeed in that battle, but we've won a few along the way. So break down, how does that, because one of the things Dr. Gerald Horne said is, look, we need to circle our wagons locally, elect progressives on wherever we can in local offices, and try to protect ourselves statewide, countywide, citywide. So talk a little bit about how that does impact us. We've already seen he who shall not be named saying that he's going to try to abolish or eliminate sanctuary cities, and we just got voted a sanctuary city. I think it was last week. So talk about how that could impact us and what, if anything, we can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, the presidency matters, and certainly the presidency, along with the Senate and the House, allows the administration to set policies that set triggers, right? They could put a lot of different conditions on, health funding, right? And so you could say we won't fund states that have that allow for access to abortions or something along those lines. And so you put all these triggers in place that cut funding for states and for local municipalities. And that's the power of, the federal government. And that certainly can be influenced very quickly when you have the president, Senate, and House in order. Part of what you were saying is setting up, what you do to combat that. And, years ago, I used to work with a political action committee. We worked with progressive candidates to get them interested in running for office. And it was the local office. It was, the local city council. It was, your state assembly, your state senator, because ideally you start electing people at a local level that have, your same views. And those people matriculate up to Congress. And, I think in Los Angeles, you can see the pipeline. We've done a really strong job of that here in L.A. And I think, most of, if not all of the elected congressional members represent the majority view of Angelenos. And that matters because you see that base that Trump has in the House, right? The loonies that he's got on the right that sit in there. I don't know that those folks have done the work on the congressional side, the grassroots work, to really say that they speak for the people that have elected them. I think they've been sort of a product of sort of a Trump media push. But I prefer politics that comes from the grassroots up. It's more representative and you get better policy that way. But the point being that for our fight, we've got a lot of fight to do both on the electoral side, but we've also got fights to do on the legislative side to protect the issues that we care about, whether it's healthcare, education, job development. All of those things are going to have those triggers that I talked about at the opening placed on them, those conditions. So.
Yeah, and I think it's I think the impact we don't even really know. We can go based on what has happened in the past, but the things that are happening right now, the appointments that are being proposed, the policies that are being put forth, it is uncharted territory. Even though that sounds like a cliche, I think it really is.
Yeah, you can take Robert. Let's take Robert Kennedy at Health and Human Services. That one is as I keep my eye on that one just because you just don't know where he is coming from, Kennedy. I don't quite understand what Trump was doing to appoint him there, but each one of the cabinet picks seems to be someone there designed to really disrupt the consistency of the United States, which is more troubling than sometimes even what policy could be proposed. I mean, in a lot of ways, the United States has remained sort of this model of consistency, and as it is, a representative democracy. And his picks challenge that in ways that we haven't seen. We saw this in 2016. But this group of picks seems even more so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it would be hard for a narcissist like he who shall not be named to resist having a Kennedy in his pocket. I mean, just that alone. But anyway, I digress. And we usually stick to local stuff here this hour, but, we have to at least mention the president's decision to pardon his son. We can talk about that when we come forward a little bit. Of course, you're welcome to call in 800-920-1580. That is the highway. That is the information superhighway into the information superhighway, 800-920-1580. I'd love to talk to you. I'm Dominique DiPrima. He's Ed Sanders, and this is KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Presenting Again Fling's love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online. Uh-huh. I read that 3 out of 4 adults in the United States have a high risk factor for severe COVID-19. And black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, as usual, some great comments here in the chat, which is on YouTube, youtube.com, and then you type in KBLA 1580, KBLA 1580. You'll get to the folks conversating, as they say, in the chat on the live stream, and they... some great comments. One of them, Starving Himself to Life, said, who among us would not pardon our own child? Also, some of these nominations are wild. Trump was paying RFK back for the favor of his support. Knows he has no chance and you know where of being confirmed. Jamal Hakim says, let's go, Joe. Let's get Joe to pardon some folks who've been locked up for too long. Agree with that all the way. And Starving Myself to Life says, you were missed, Dom, but we appreciate you leaving us in good hands. Dr. Sunshine did great work. You know what? I agree with that, Ed. Who wouldn't pardon their own kid? Look, to me, if you have the opportunity to pardon your child and you don't, you're stupid. I mean, I don't... I know, there can be conversation, and some Republicans are big mad, even though Trump pardoned his father-in-law, but the double standard, continues to be real. But I do wish he would pardon Leonard Peltier and some of the other freedom fighters who have been in prison since the civil rights times of the 1960s and 70s. And why not? He's not going to run for office. He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, you can take it on two levels. I mean, first with his own son, I can imagine the conversation at Thanksgiving at the Biden household. The pall over their dinner table as Trump is coming in and Hunter is facing sentencing for charges that wouldn't have been there but for his father becoming president and Trump and the far right going after him. That to me was an easy call. I get that he said that he wouldn't, but I would never leave my son vulnerable to Trump retribution, and that's really more the case there. On your second point, yeah, I mean, part of the hypocrisy that comes out of this is that we know that there are folks that have been imprisoned for, speaking out or taking actions against an oppressive, society. The hypocrisy is that Biden would do something for his own family and not for others that are still sitting in prisons. But that stated, as we get closer to the Christmas holiday, I am anxious to see what he does have lined up in terms of pardons. All outgoing presidents seem to have a list that they share as you get closer to the inauguration date. So we look forward to see what he has.
And I agree with Kwame Allah, free Mumia, Abu Jamal, free Leonard Peltier, free pardon Assata Shakur. I mean, I don't expect him to do that, but I would love to see it. You're, 80, however old he is. You're not going to run for office again. You're not, it's the perfect lame duck situation. And I also agree with starving myself to life. There are so many people that were harmed by the war on drugs, over sentenced by 3 strikes and other things. We see the white lash against these progressive prosecutors, as we've experienced here in Los Angeles, where we are getting rid of a prosecutor who's doing exactly what we elected him to do, and putting in this lock him up and throw away the key, lock up and spend Republican. And so, do some good on your way out the door. I mean, he could go down and even more legendary. People are starting to give him props for appointing all of those black judges, as they should, but he could be really legendary if he would use the power of the pardon in a way that made a difference.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you need to go to D.C. and camp out in the Justice Department and the White House and just have these conversations. I mean, I think that, that's a large part of it is the advocacy side that takes place with the Department of Justice. Merrick Garland, I haven't been a huge fan of as Attorney General, and so I don't have a whole lot of confidence in his office having looked earnestly at some of these cases, but I would imagine that our vice president, who has more of a sensitive ear to our issues, could be helpful in this. But without being in Merrick Garland's office, you have no idea of knowing who they're actually considering, who they've done their legwork on, and that sort of thing. But I don't think Merrick Garland is the type of AG that I would expect much from.
No, I mean, he's already dropped the ball in such a big way. Had he gone after he who shall not be named in a more timely manner, we might not have to suffer through his presidency, the 4 years of it and all the damage that goes on for generations after it. And that's the same with many of those nut jobs that he's chosen as possible appointments. Had they been prosecuted following January 6th and other crimes that they've committed, Matt Gaetz seemed to have self-emulated, but generally he could have spared us a lot of this. And to be honest with you, it makes me not as sad that he's not sitting on the Supreme Court because of all these dumb decisions that he's made, including appointing that Republican prosecutor to go after Hunter Biden in the first place, trying to prove that he's fair and balanced, and ending up favoring Republicans by going just too far and having no backbone.
Yeah, I mean, look, when his nomination to the Supreme Court came forward, it wasn't that he was, a fantastic pick. He was just the pick that Obama could have gotten through a Republican Senate.
That makes sense.
That's a very important point about him. He would have been an incredible disappointment on the Supreme Court.
Apparently so. But no, that's a good observation. I forgot about that because they didn't even give him a hearing, and Obama's calculation was get somebody that's so-called well-respected by both sides of the aisle so that I can get the confirmation through, but he never even got a shot at it.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
I was surprised when Biden put him up for Attorney General, because he's just at this point, he's a name, right? I mean, he had prosecuted Timothy McVeigh after the domestic, I don't even know what you call the thing in Oklahoma.
Terror.
And that, yeah, I guess, yeah. And that, he was a national name in that regard, but, that was never going to be the sort of wielder of justice that we needed in this country, that would have, certainly taken a better eye towards the issues that we care about. So, all that stated, I don't have high hopes for, any monumental, pardons coming forward. I don't see his office doing that.
Yeah, Well,
as sad as it sounds. I hate to start my day going into that.
No, I mean, but based on his track record, what you're saying makes sense. But the president can push that stuff. The president has that, has that ability. I mean, when he who shall not be named, the president-elect, pardoned his, his son-in-law's dad. Father-in-law,
Right.
thank you. When he pardoned his father-in-law, the notorious Kushner, that he pushed it through. The president can push those things through, and I would love to see, of course, I also would love to see Joe Biden sign a reparations study executive order, a voting rights executive order, a police abuse executive order, and make an equal pay executive order, and make the president-elect overturn those things one by one and show his behind. I don't expect that Biden will do it, but I wish that he would, especially the reparations one. There's a petition going around at reparationsunited.org. You can sign it, and it's urging the president to make an executive order for H.R. 40 for a study on reparations. There's no reason he couldn't do it, especially now that we've lost the election. It's not like he's going to be hurting the campaign or the president-elect. So he may as well go on and do that and make he who shall not be named, show his true colors.
Yeah. I mean, the real task, and I think you're right. Like have Trump, roll back those executive orders, which we know he would do on day one, but be on the record as doing something like that. The funny part is Trump is such a crazy figure. You never know what he would and what he wouldn't do. But I think we can make some reasonable expectations on civil rights issues that he's not there.
Yeah. Well, we got news, traffic, and sports right here. So much to be done, so much to unpack, and we're here for it. Ed Sanders, Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know from BIN News. The Supreme Court will hear 2 significant cases this week. Today, it will address the FDA's rejection of flavored tobacco products popular among teens. And on Wednesday, it will examine if Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming treatment for transgender minors violates the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. Ohio State and Michigan football programs were fined $100,000 each by the Big Ten after a brawl following Michigan's 13-10 win. 1 police officer was injured and pepper spray was used to break up the altercation. Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares has resigned due to different views with the board. His resignation is effective immediately, and the company is actively searching for a new CEO, expecting to find a replacement in the first half of 2025. And Costco will stop selling books at most of its stores starting in January. The company says it's making the change because stocking books is labor-intensive. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Want to save up to 50% on new blinds? Blinds.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters at prices far less than big box retailers. And right now, save up to 50% off through December 10th during our Cyber Week sale. Blinster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers and Rams got wins on the road Sunday. 4 interceptions by the Chargers defense sparked a 17-13 win in Atlanta. Rookie cornerback Tarheeb Steele returned one of the interceptions, 61 yards for a touchdown. The Chargers are 8-4. They're at Kansas City next Sunday night. The Rams are back at 500 after a 21-14 win at New Orleans. The Rams are a game and a half behind Seattle in the NFC West. The Lakers hung on for a 1-point win at Utah. Impressive double-double for LeBron and Anthony Davis. 33 points and 13 rebounds for AD. LeBron finished with 27 points and 14 assists. The Clippers beat Denver by 4. James Harden served up 39 points and 11 assists. The Big Ten Conference handed out a $100,000 fine to Michigan and Ohio State for the post-game brawl after Saturday's football game. The conference said the players involved would not be disciplined. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
An official message from Medicare. couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. Call 800-952-1155. That's 800-952-1155.
There are Black Friday deals, and then there are Kohl's Black Friday deals. Where else can you get 40% off Levi's, up to 50% off Sephora fragrances, and home favorites for under $10, all in the same place? And it gets better. You can score extra Kohl's cash with $15 earned for every $50 spent. Get 15% off some of your finds, and save even more with limited time doorbusters, like 50% off toys. Select styles. Offers end November 29th. Coupons do not apply to Levi's and toys. Coupons and Kohl's cash do not apply to Sephora. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
I was so excited when I heard the sandwich was back. What's up? This is Mike.
And this is Celia.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich
is the symphony of flavors. You can always count on that crispy, tender, juicy chicken. It's so good.
My favorite part is the pimento cheese. Topped off with the honey, it all comes together perfectly. I like the original.
I like the spicy chicken fillet. But either way,
you're getting a winner.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail, and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ed Sanders is here with me, and you're welcome in. 800-920-1580. That's the number to call. Article in today's LA Times, Ed Sanders, about these the education results statewide and here in the city of Los Angeles. And it seems like, trying to find the article, but it seems like we're making progress, but it's so weird the way they crunch the numbers. It's almost like a shell game where you don't exactly know if you've made progress or not, meaning that the way they compare this and that. Like, for example, they're saying that there's progress since the pandemic and the closing down of the schools, but we still haven't gotten back to where we were before 2020. So, is that progress? It's 5 years later and we're still not, we're not back where we were. Carvalho, the superintendent here, making a big deal of the fact that we're progressing. And of course, that's what we expect, success, claims of success. The thing that I found the one thing that I did find very encouraging, though, in these numbers, Ed, is that we've got our suspension rates down, because that's usually black students disproportionately.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and that's one of those issues that you and I have worked on in the past that have a real impact on futures for children. I always sort of pause when education districts say that we're progressing, and your point, in how you look at it, we're not back to where we were prior to COVID. And if you accept where we were prior to COVID as being, where we needed to be then okay, then maybe we're progressing. But I don't think the numbers where we would have expected them even prior to COVID. So not being back there to that point doesn't feel like progress. It just feels like we're still behind. And I haven't seen that article yet. I can't wait to pour a cup of coffee and go through it in more detail. But we've been talking about this, since during COVID. I can remember back to the shows that during COVID where we were talking about the impact of students, the online learning and how we were adapting to that. And I think what we're seeing now is, the focus of kids is off. And that's, I think that's in large part why the cell phone ban is coming on board. And I'm so happy that that's coming forward.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a huge distraction for young minds. And it sounds silly, but the truth of the matter is they can't put the phones down. They're literally addicts, and you can see it.
They are, and we are too. To be fair, we are too.
Yeah, agreed. I woke up this morning and looked at my social media before I jumped on the radio with you. I know it. I probably need help like the rest of us.
Yeah, but I wonder how that's going to be enforced too, because I see that schools do it in different ways. Some are taking the phones, some have an honor system. Some have, I used to have a rule where my child's phone had to be plugged in to charge across the house, not in their room, because this staying up all night under the covers on the phone thing was not going to fly with me. But then, eventually he started sleeping over there on the couch to be by the phone. And I try to move the phone back in the room. So it's like, it is really hard. You're competing with something that's monstrously powerful and endlessly amusing.
Yeah, and it's such a big part of their social world. That's the other side of it. You know what I mean? Like you can imagine middle school kids, and they're shaping their identities. That's all done through social media now. So it is what they're tethered to. But from an academic standpoint, I've never taught a classroom situation like that. That's not my profession. So I try to do any criticism of education with a grain of salt, understanding that I haven't taught a classroom, so I know it's difficult. But I think there are factors that can help teachers, and the distractions, the outside of class distractions matter, and that seems to be a big one that we could take.
Yeah, but I'm saying because you also know that I had my child in some elite private schools for a time, and they didn't have that problem, even though they are allowed to have phones. Those children are performing way above grade level in reading and math. You know what I mean? So some of it is resources. because those children were able to look at their phone whenever they wanted to. In high school.
But those schools have put the bans in too, right? Like it's been a clarion call across the board. So it's not just public schools. I think the independent schools have implemented that as well. Where schools just aren't, there's punishments if you're on campus with your phone. So they're seeing the distraction across all levels.
So you think we're seeing a real sea change in education where the phone is just going to be restricted in ways that it wasn't before?
Yeah, it's wild because the technology is such a part of education now, right? When we were coming up, very little was, a video. If we watched a video, it was in the classroom, right? In the substitute
and they were
teacher
boring.
came to watch the video.
Yeah,
boring. But now on YouTube, you can, there's lectures, there's background information, there's all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the technology is such an integrated part of your educational process, right? I actually want my kids using the latest apps to better their efficiency, their performance, that sort of thing. And in a lot of ways, our schools are behind in that, right? Like, the schools are sort of teaching a 1980 model when the kids are in 2025.
Yeah. Like that terrible online teaching
is,
that they did. I'm sorry, teachers. I love you. But the COVID teaching was insanely bad. So just to say it's the kids' focus, I don't think is fair either. The schools were not ready. The teaching was terrible and not engaging. And the kids lost social emotional learning that they would have got from interacting with each other. So it's kind of a perfect storm.
Well, you've got to take the best of each action. You know what I mean? Like I would say this. I do know families that homeschool their kids, remotely and
right.
and have a number of teachers that they access online, from wherever they are in the world. And the education is actually really, really good.
And I bet you anything, those teachers, that's how they teach all the time. It wasn't just foisted
right.
on them suddenly. Now you're going to teach online and you don't even know how to use your computer really. I was
right.
I was listening to the kids clowning the teachers because the teachers did not know how to use the technology that they were trying to teach with. But yeah, thankfully those days are behind us, and I'm pretty sure that if we have the bird flu pandemic or whatever's next, the schools will be more ready for it.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers and toes. Jamal Hakim says he had to deal with that when he was teaching, and the phone should be incorporated into the process. Interesting. Wonder how that looks. We are taking your phone calls, and we are doing our thing, and we got a lot to talk about, so get in on this. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses, like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions.
LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
I went to My Computer Career because I needed job security.
Because I wanted a career in cybersecurity.
I went to My Computer Career because IT jobs are everywhere.
My old job was going nowhere.
I went because I didn't want college loans for the rest of my life.
Because I wanted a career for the rest of my life.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Classes available online or in person. Financial aid available for qualified students, including the GI Bill. 529 college savings plans accepted.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Ed Sanders and Dominique DiPrima here. So looking at this, this issue of the schooling and the scores and the phones and everything else that needs to be done. I guess the bottom line for me with the scores is that we have seen some improvement in reading and math. We're still not at pre-pandemic levels, and we still are not meeting state standards. And the statewide numbers aren't all that great either. So it to me, I know I'm armchair quarterbacking because I've never taught either. I don't think I have the patience. I would be a terrible teacher. You can't just hang up on kids. But I
don't know. You're a good teacher.
I think it speaks to a need for a paradigm shift. I mean, really, I know that sounds like a platitude, but I don't think it is. I think we need some real fundamental changes and stop teaching to tests and start teaching to actual knowledge and understanding. Everything is judged off these state scores. 43%.
But I never understand that. What does that mean? Like when we say stop teaching to tests, right? Like how do you prepare?
Because the teachers
not prepare a child for a test.
Because the teachers are only teaching to make the kids look good on standardized tests. They're not
they don't look good on.
Which they still don't look good on, but that's where they're spending their time. And because they're constantly testing them to not just the state tests, but the city tests or county tests, all these other extra tests that they want to do so that the administrators can get paid and the faculty in schools can look good. They're not focusing on kids' understanding. They're kind of holistic grasping of topics. They're teaching them to memorize a bunch of little random facts and spit them back out in bubbles on a test. That's not education.
Right.
It's like treating kids like rats in a maze instead of like whole individuals with brains and interests.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I think when framed that way, I agree. I guess once you teach to knowledge, how does a child display their grasping of the knowledge?
Well, I mean, we did it all the years. We never had standardized tests. You can test them on, you can have them do projects. You can test them on their knowledge in a more rounded way that's not just filling in a bubble and regurgitating a fact, but being able to articulate a concept.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. It has always troubled me because, I mean, math is math to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I could separate math and English in my mind, but
and also science. I mean, we're most miserable in science. I think 30% of LAUSD, or maybe it was 23, I can't remember, met the state standard for science. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, and that's just generally basic knowledge of biology or geology or whatever. If you put me back in the sixth grade, I still feel like I could answer a lot of those questions. But
well, I don't know if I could.
the math scores have always been, like English. We know that can be loaded. And you got to take a look at, what was asked in sort of the English and what was the material. But math, math is pretty concrete. And so I've always looked at the math scores to see how far below, our students are. And then you have to sort of ask the question, well, is our expectation, like, are we managing our expectation? I believe that every student can and should do well in particularly the math scores.
Okay. I just saw it. It's 24% of our students are proficient in science.
Yeah, that's really low.
On a statewide standard, which is not exactly, rigorous. Let's see, math. Yeah, 32%, 32.8%. Of LAUSD
really
students
low.
are proficient, but the statewide number is 35, so it's not, Whew. Okay, let's go to Randy calling us from Watts. Good morning, Randy.
I hope you had a great holiday. We missed you last week.
I did, and thank you.
This is one of the sore spots that I've had in Los Angeles, LA Unified, and I brought it up to you many times. The ideas of what our teaching of our students is so inefficient here in South Central, and it hurts me to see when I go to TikTok or some other social media, they're rating schools that I went to as being the worst, lowest graduating scores, lowest profession, But then on the other hand, I'm working with Chauncey Spencer down here at the airport. We've got airplane simulators and a rocket program, and we're bringing in some students to some degree, and they're interested, and we have to get them up on speed, but we get no support from the community or the schools. I mean, I'd like to invite you and Miles to come down. We've got 5 simulators down there of F-15s. Put you in one, and you can learn how to fly. We got a rocket program there that's being worked
reach out. I mean, you know where to find me. I'm on all the social media, KBLA 1580. I'm at DiPrima Radio. I'm always down to go check out a program. Randy, you'll laugh at this because we always talk about vocational programs in the schools. Apparently, my great aunt, Mama Lise, was also a crusader for that. I never knew that. She passed away last year at the age of 108. I never knew that was a big crusade for her. What are your thoughts on what Randy said, Ed?
Oh, I love that. Listen, I think, you try to connect opportunities like that up to professions, right? And we know there's a shortage of commercial pilots, and there's a lot of good work being done. Fly Compton is one of the organizations, that I know is out there that creates opportunities for particularly young students of color to follow an interest in flying planes.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about and referencing some of the technology that's available and being able to sit in a flight simulator, and fly an F-15 would be wild. But, you know, connecting these sort of opportunities back and exposing our kids to these opportunities is important, right? You know, to fly a commercial plane is, I believe they make like $160, $170 a year. It's a great, you know, it's a great profession.
And they're almost all white.
What's that?
They're almost all white. So lots of room for improvement, I guess. Lots of room for. I want to say before we get off. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to say we got to break down some of those stigmas that you know. We don't fly, right? Like I was to the point on social media. I saw a young boy, you know, maybe high school age, flying his grandmother for the first time on Instagram, and it's one of the most heartwarming little scenes you can see, right? She's just proud to be flying in the air with her grandson. But, you know, we know that boy is going to go into flying and do well.
Yeah, I was just going to say I wanted to point out that black students had the greatest improvement on the latest test scores and are now, even though still there's a gap, we're now outpacing black students in the rest of the state. The only group that's outpacing statewide standards for statewide averages, I guess, are black students. So that's a good thing. But it's also an argument that we need to keep the Black Student Achievement Program and not all lives matter it into oblivion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, when you look at education historically, right, and you have to be able to do that, we've identified that African-American students have, either by the schools that they're in or the teachers or the different relationships, we've noticed some unique trends that you have to address in a unique way. You can't just roll out a policy across the board and hope that it influences it, because the policy generally isn't designed for African-American students, but African-American students do have very unique issues that have to be addressed.
Yeah. And clearly, when you give help, it works. I mean, because we see the improvement here. Black students are the only ones in LAUSD who are back to pre-pandemic performance levels. And, so programs like the Black Student Achievement Program, we need to find a way to make them continue. Ed Sanders, remind folks how to keep track of you.
Oh, I'm always on X at Edward M. Sanders, looking at the latest in the news. And if you need to reach me through there. But Dominique, glad to be on with you this morning. Glad Thanksgiving was warm and your family's doing well. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Same, Ed. It's Edward M. Sanders. And by the way, Ed, come on over to Blue Sky. I finally opened a Blue Sky account, and it is much more hospitable. It's much more warm and cozy over there than the evil domain of Mr. Musk, although I haven't dropped off that one yet either. We've got news, traffic, and sports, then more on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The Supreme Court will hear 2 significant cases this week. Today, it will address the FDA's rejection of a police officer was injured and pepper spray was used to break up the altercation. Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares